In a statement yesterday, Austin wrote in part, quote, "If the United States defaults, it would undermine the economic strength on which our national security rests. It would also seriously harm our service members and their families because, as secretary, I would have no authority or ability to ensure that our service members, civilians or contractors, would be paid in full or on time." Austin also noted benefits for 2.4 million military retirees and 400,000 survivors would be at risk. Austin's statement came as 7 former defense secretaries issued a similar message yesterday, warning Congress it would be, quote, "a tragic to allow partisanship to now deny those critical resources." Let's bring in former chief of staff at the CIA and Department of Defense, NBC News national security analyst Jeremy Bash. And Jeremy, this is from business to defense. The president has really surrounded himself and kind of presented Republicans with the bad options here.
Yeah, Mika, there are significant national security consequences to a debt default. First, it's unclear whether we would be able to even pay our troops. The reason we have an all-volunteer force of 2.1 million individuals serving in uniform is because they know that when they step out there to fight and win our nation's wars, we're going to pay them. We're going to pay them well. We're going to take care of their families. We're going to provide housing. It's unclear if we default whether we'd ever be able to do that. Second, we have to pay contractors to maintain our bases. This is military readiness 101. And if we don't do that, we're not going to have a ready, capable military. And third, our standing in the world is at stake. If the full faith and credit of the United States is pierced, if it is shattered because we can't function our democracy, then that's going to send a very clear signal to both our friends and our adversaries that the United States is on our back. And I don't know why. I don't know why anybody in Washington would do that. And for that reason, Vice President Cheney and Secretary Leon Panetta, Secretary William Cohen, Secretary Bill Perry, Secretary Ash Carter, Secretary Chuck Hagel, and Secretary Jim Mattis all signed this urgent letter to the congressional leaders to take urgent action now to avoid those catastrophic consequences.
Yeah, certainly the consequences would be massive and sweeping, not just for national security, but the White House put out a report yesterday, Garrett, that if this were to happen, it would probably trigger a recession that would be far greater than the one we saw in 2008 because so many countries around the world are still battling the pandemic and are not in fiscal health to be able to grapple with something like this, that a recession now could be a depression. It would certainly be global. But I'm curious, is there any dissension in the Republican ranks through your reporting? We know this is McConnell's stance. This is what he wants to do. And even if he blinks slightly, it's still going to just lead to another deadline in December that we're all going to be up late working for. But like someone like a Mitt Romney, let's say, who has defied the party before on matters of Trump and other principles, or Rob Portman or other sort of considered more reasonable, moderate Republicans, you know, they recognize this is about spending that already occurred, including under Republican presidents. Why are they willing to go along with this bad faith argument that's about to curb Democratic spending?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. I do think there was dissension in the ranks, and there may yet be. I mean, that may be part of the reason we don't have this deal completely ironed out. Yesterday, I think it was, Roy Blunt, who's a member of McConnell's leadership team, told a couple of reporters he thought that there were probably 45 Republican senators who'd be willing to just sit on their hands and let Democrats raise the debt limit through regular order and not go through this entire filibuster process that reconciliation process that Republicans had been putting out there. The problem, Blunt said, was the other 5 who could not be controlled. And I heard a version of that from McConnell, too, at his press conference also yesterday when I asked him why not kind of take the easy way out here. And he said, well, that would require all 50 Republican senators to get on board. And he kind of made it sound as though that was not something that he could ensure at the time. And so I think the opposite of what you're suggesting may be true. In fact, that it may be the majority of Republicans were willing to let this debt limit crisis be handled the easy way, but with a handful or so who wanted to force the issue, force Democrats to do it through reconciliation. McConnell may have chosen to say, we're going to appear united for as long as we possibly can here and see if we can make the other guy blink. Now, with time running short and that blink not coming, we take this route instead. Now, that's going to definitely be a focus of reporting today, but that's sort of the way I've seen the last couple of days playing out on this issue.